everybody. Welcome back to the Baker Take. We are happy to be back on this beautiful fall day. Well, at least it's pretty here. I don't know how it is in Texas. I haven't checked the weather. But we have an exciting show today, don't we, Becky?
We do, and the weather is beautiful here. I love this time of year. It's my favorite. And the fair is actually starting tomorrow.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah, the state fair starts tomorrow, and like the weather's just like perfect for it right now. It's like low 60s in the mornings and, like 80s in the afternoon. So it's perfect.
Yeah, that's how it is here right now. I think it's like 78, but it was like low 60s, high 50s this morning. So that's pretty,
Yeah.
it's pretty.
So this morning, I think it was this morning, I captured a screenshot of the weather, and it was like, I think we were only 1 degree higher in Dallas than we were in Syracuse.
Yeah, it won't stay like that forever, but
No.
it's how it is now.
Yes, it actually does it quite often, like I said. So I do that with my friend up there and send him shots of that often. And sometimes even in the winter, surprisingly, I'll say,
Well,
oh my gosh.
Texas gets colder than people think, and I've gone through my whole college experience telling people from California that it gets cold in Texas, and they just don't understand.
Right.
They can't figure that out. They're like how cold? And I'm like 30s, maybe lower, and they're like lower. Like they're so confused because they every image of Texas people think of is hot, hot, hot.
Well, it hits 60 in LA and people put on their Uggs. So it's
Oh
very
my God,
confusing.
I audibly laughed at somebody in the Palisades when I was with Alexandra because it was like jean jacket weather. It was like 63, maybe 62, which in LA, granted, is cooler
It
than
does
a
feel
regular
cooler. Yes.
62, especially when you're close to the water like that. And this woman had on a puffer coat and a hat, like a winter hat, and Uggs, and she's walking her dog. And I was like, that was the most absurd looking thing I've ever seen.
Well, while you were attending USC, I used to get very confused when I would visit because you would see somebody on one side of you that was in, a tank top or a crop top and shorts and riding a skateboard. And then, honestly, on the very opposite side next to you on the other side is somebody in a winter coat or vest and leggings and Uggs. And you're like,
A hoodie and
yeah,
sweatpants and Ugg slippers. And you're like, where are you going?
I know what's happening here. But I liked how you put it because, you do see seagulls in LA and then you see uh, pigeons in LA and you see all kinds of people dressed different ways. And it's like, LA doesn't even know what LA is sometimes.
Um, no, it
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah.
It's a mix.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do with the clothes either.
No, for sure. So let's talk about some things that we like to send people because that was on my list of things that I usually do this time of year anyway. Is I like to send out little holiday Halloween treats to some of our friends and some of your friends.
Yes, I
Who
love that.
yes, they've been getting them from me for years. So that's one thing I have mine all prepared and ready to go. They're on the counter. And we had friends over the other night and they're like, what's going on here? Are you having a Halloween party? And I'm like,
No.
no, those are just for all
Sending
Presley's friends.
my adult daughter and her friends Halloween treats.
That's what it is. It's like cute little treats. And I bought these really cute, like, they're skeleton hands that are gold and they're holding like a little globe glass thing that's more like for a candle. But of course, I put like Halloween candy in them, like
Hmm.
candy corn, and then put them in a bag and put little cute ribbons on them. And they're adorable.
That sounds very cute. I
Yeah.
remember you sent me those witch fingers freshman year of college, and like a huge pack of them, like the fingers that you put on your finger. You know what I'm talking
Yes.
about?
Yes.
And my roommate was so confused by him. JJ was so confused by him. I used to throw them at her. I still do that. When I have them, I'll mail them to her. Or I'll bring them to her wherever I am.
I need to see if I can find some of those in Dallas.
Well, they freak her out. That's the
Yeah. And I'll,
which
I'll
I find hilarious.
I'll send her a pack of those if I can find some because I have
Oh,
a
she'll get a kick out of
birthday
that.
I have a birthday present I'm shipping off to her anyway. So, but some fun things too. We used to ship off like oh gosh, coconuts when we would go to Maui, or we would go to the pineapple ranch or the pineapple farms and ship out big pineapples to people in crates. That
Yes.
was always fun.
I love bringing people back souvenirs, which I know is not the most cost-effective thing, and I never get souvenirs in return. No one ever brings me souvenirs,
I know. Why
but
is that?
I don't know. I would love if somebody brought me souvenirs. No one brings me souvenirs, but I love bringing people back souvenirs.
Yeah, I do too. And my mom always says, "Oh, you shouldn't have spent money on that stuff." And I'm like, "No, it's fun. It's fun for
Makes
me.
me happy.
It makes me happy. It does." And that's same with the Halloween treats and the Easter treats when
Yeah.
it's around Easter time or Christmas. Buying and putting together all those cute little. It's also a very big creative outlet for me, I have to say. So, it's putting together these cute little packages, but it's like creatively done, and so it's kind of fun for me to do it because of that as well.
I also like the validation of buying people things that they like or that I
Yes.
know they'll like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like doing that. Even
So
like birthdays.
I did find this was really fun because I was looking up something about the strangest things that people have sent.
Hmm.
And one of the things that popped up, which I thought you would get a kick out of, is the U.S. Postal Service began delivering packages in 1913, and people
Hmm.
tried to ship, or people actually did. They didn't just try. They shipped their children. So one couple in Ohio paid 15 cents in stamps to send their son to the grandmother's house.
For 15 cents?
15 cents. And they insured their son for $50. So I thought that was hilarious.
That's worse than the 15 cents.
I know, isn't that weird? And then I don't know.
They put them in a box?
I don't know. It doesn't say how they shipped them. So it shows them in like this like old fashioned baby in like a little pouch. So I'm not sure.
Oh, it's a baby? I was picturing like an 8-year-old.
Yeah, right. No, I think this was like a young child, which is even scarier, I think. But yeah.
I think we could ship Justin. I think that would work.
Justin, you remember when Justin got in the hamster ball?
Yes, that
Oh
was
my
one of the
gosh.
funniest things ever.
The video.
That was like in Santa Monica or in Venice Beach.
Oh my gosh.
That was insane.
That was so funny. We have to like play that video for people because it is so funny. Him and that hamster ball, he was so excited to get in.
He's a giant, first of all. He's like 6'3".
Yeah.
And he crawled into the hamster ball and like rolled down the hill.
Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh.
gosh. It was so funny.
It is
We'll
funny.
have to send it to Andrew and have him splice
Yes.
it in.
Yes.
Because it was hilarious. I bring it out around his birthday every year.
Yeah, it's
But no,
very entertaining.
this goes back to my theory that there's two types of people in life, and there's people that will get in the hot dog costume, and there's people who make other people get in the hot dog costume. And Justin is
Yes.
a hot dog costume person.
Yes.
And it's not always what you'd expect.
No, you're right. You're right. No, I'm definitely the one that will talk somebody into getting into something and not do it myself.
Well, I am too, but then sometimes people surprise you. Like you think that they're going to be a non-hot dog costume person, and they're so willing to put it on.
JJ
I
put it
know.
on. I
I
would have
know.
never have thought that.
Cassidy put it on.
Cassidy put it on. Yeah, that's too funny. Oh my gosh. So we had a hot dog costume because of Hoffman, and I hadn't sent it off to the company yet. And I said, "Look at what I got in and what I had made."
Yeah.
And there were so many people willing to put it on. It was hilarious.
I have so many pictures of different people in the hot dog costume.
Oh my gosh. We need to flash those up too because that's really funny.
I'll at least send you the one of JJ. She won't care.
Yeah. And the hamster ball of Justin too. The hamster
Yeah,
ball.
those two for sure.
Oh my gosh. Something that I did find that was really cool that, okay, so this time of year, you also have people with the weather bouncing back and forth, the weather people are a little bit under the weather. So I found this company a while back and I've used it a couple times. And so anybody looking for something to send a friend who's a little not feeling well or just had surgery or had a fall or whatever, it's called Spoonful of Comfort. And it does, and I haven't sent this to you yet, Press, but it has like soup packages where you can pick out which flavor of soup to send. And then they also have like mac and cheese. Like I sent Pam when she had her knee replacement, one type of soup and then also the mac and cheese. And then it comes with like cookies and rolls and a little ladle with a bow on it. It's really cute.
Ew.
Yeah. And then they also have like honey and tea packages They you can add on like comfy socks or a soft cozy throw, and then they have like another version of it called Spoonful of Sugar, and instead of comfort, and you can send ice cream pints.
Cute.
Yeah, I thought it's really a great idea. And the pricing, it's kind of like how it would be if you sent something from Goldbelly.
Yeah.
So it's, $120, somewhere in that range. But then they also have like a little package for kids called Embrace Change package, which I hope that's not exactly used for certain things, but embrace change, like if
Oh,
you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
It took me a second, but
yeah, I was like, ooh, embrace change for a little kid. No, no, it's like if they move and they,
yeah.
are a little bit shy about making new friends or whatever, or having a hard time adjusting to a new environment. So it's this embrace change package, and it comes with like a stuffed fox and then a fox little book about change, and then it has
Ooh.
mac and cheese and cookies and a poster, and it's cute.
Aw.
Yeah. So
No, if it were the other type of embracing change, it would have that book in it, that the American Girl doll book that we all had. Like, I realized that was a collective experience. But when I like have talked to other people over the years, like, anyone remember that American Girl doll book that was like about your changing body? And I'm like, why did everyone have that?
was it awkward? I don't remember that book.
You don't remember that book?
No, I
Oh
don't.
God. I'm gonna have to pull it up because it's like such a vivid memory in my head, and everybody feels that way. And it's like it was like the American Girl doll brand. You remember how they had like the hairstyle book and stuff
Yeah,
too?
of course. Yeah.
Eh, Oh no, I'll have to find it now.
So it was a book on changing your body changing.
Yes.
That's so funny.
It's definitely not something you purchased, but
No. I rem- excuse me. I remember when I had a talk to you girls about that time in your lives, and it was you and a couple of your friends, and then I had to call the moms and say, hey, this topic came up, so I just want to give you a heads up. This is what I told them. And I was expecting them to go, oh, okay, well, thanks, but they were like, oh, thank you.
yeah, thank God I don't have to do it.
Right, they were like, thank you, Becky, that's so awesome.
Oh
Yeah.
God, no,
Yeah.
but yeah, but the service sounds very cute.
Yeah, no, it's very cute.
Yeah.
And I also like to send certain things like last minute last year. I think actually it was this time last year because it was JJ's birthday, and I didn't get a chance. I think I was working and traveling, and I didn't get a chance to mail something off to her. So I Googled, because I'm the master of Google. We've talked about that before. I found a really cool bakery that did incredible cakes in Manhattan, and they boxed
Yeah.
them up really beautiful. And I had this really cool cake delivered to her at her office for her birthday last minute.
Yeah, she loves that.
Yeah.
That was that-
So
yeah,
I
sure.
think people really appreciate, they have labeled me the ultimate gift giver, but I think that you're definitely following in my footsteps because you take time to pick out something that that the person will really love.
Well, and we've talked about this on here before, like it's just paying attention. That's
Yeah.
really all it is paying attention to what people like.
Yes, for sure. So
Okay, what do we want to talk about next?
yeah,
What do we
so
want to
let's talk about, since we're talking about New York, since I had the cake delivered in New York, let's roll into talking about Mayor Eric Adams and his problems. I'm sure everybody's kind of seen that on the news if they're paying attention to any kind of news the last 48 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been looking at like the specifics of it. All I saw was that he was indicted, but I didn't even look to what. So
Okay.
you're gonna have to explain it to me.
Yeah. So, Mayor Adams is the mayor of New York City, which is the largest U.S. city by population. It has over 8 million people. And U.S. Attorney in Manhattan is claiming that Adams took, and I don't think this is a big amount, which is kind of weird, but it sounds like it's $100,000. And I'm like, okay, he's accused.
All right, if I'm going to prison, I'm going to prison for more than 100 grand.
That's why I'm kind of like iffy about these whole charges. So Mayor Adams is claiming that he's being aggressively targeted because of his views on bucking the administration, the current administration, Biden and his group about immigration, because
Yeah,
New York's been hammered like any of the big cities or all the big cities
sure.
with an influx of undocumented immigrants and migrants coming in, and they don't know what to do with all these migrants, and they're having to also reallocate money to them and take it from other services for citizens and kind of put it towards the migrants.
Well, and New York's already overcrowded and has a homeless problem, so you'd think that
Absolutely.
they wouldn't want that as a society, more people coming in.
Right, right. So basically, they're accusing him of corruption. The claim is that he also conspired with the Turkish government to receive like campaign contributions in exchange for like a quid pro quo. And I'm like, okay, the whole total is $100,000 collectively since 2014. And I'm like, I don't know, it just sounds really fishy to me.
That sounds like a low number for 10 years,
It
but
absolutely does. It absolutely
yeah,
does. So yeah,
Turkey.
so I know Turkey. So supposedly, like, also like I don't know if it was Turkey or some other part of the charges, but somebody bumped him up to first class, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I would take first class too.
Yeah, I feel like that has nothing to do with his moral status.
No, I agree. So a year ago, FBI raided the home of his chief fundraiser. So he's been under investigation for a while now.
I did know that. I
Yeah,
did know that they've been looking into him, but I
yeah.
don't know.
But it is a kind of a coincidence, or not so much a coincidence that they started really looking into him and seizing like his electronic devices and all that and raiding the home of his chief fundraiser about the time that he was thinking about going to the southern border, and
Yeah.
that he was questioning the immigration policies of Biden Harris. And so I kind of think there is something to that for him.
There probably is.
Yeah.
There probably is. I like you said that number sounds really low to
Yeah.
me.
Like even the
'Cause
girl this morning that was reporting on like a follow up to the story. And I think I don't remember if I was on CNN or Fox, but it was like she kind of stumbled over the amount because I knew that she was like taken back that it wasn't more.
yeah, it's not $10 million, it's
Right.
$100,000.
Right. So apparently, like Governor Kathy Hochul is the one that has the power to remove Adams from office
Yeah.
under the state constitution, and her people have told her to distance herself from Adams. So I'm not quite sure what she's going to do, if she's going to remove him or not. And supposedly, if she does remove him, the next person in line, and I don't have his name here, but supposedly he's like a really radical. So it wouldn't be necessarily a good thing for New York. And it's one of AOC's like people.
People.
Yeah. So of course AOC's like calling for Adams to resign.
AOC just likes drama.
Oh, she's such a brat. Isn't she a brat?
She likes drama. I'm not a fan of hers, but both sides have that kind of presence sometimes. So I'm like, yeah, I don't like her at all. But what I said was that she asked one of the best questions in that Secret Service hearing about the Trump assassination attempt. But yeah, no, I don't understand how they could remove him unless he's convicted. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's going to be an issue because if he's claiming he's innocent or whatever, then which I don't know if he's claiming
He is. Yeah.
yeah, then they're gonna have a hell of a time trying to remove him. And if they do, the person with that much power, because New York mayor has a lot more power than a regular mayor. I mean, it's head over heels above any other random city, except for like maybe Chicago, LA. But he knows things they don't want out either. And if they take him down, he'll take some other people down with him.
For
And maybe
sure.
that's why they're telling Kathy Hochul to distance herself.
Yeah, for sure. So so I didn't know that he used to be a Republican. Did you know that?
I did know that. Yeah.
It kind of surprised me.
I feel like that they were talking about that around the time because isn't he former cop?
He is, yes. Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that he's former Republican because I feel like to win in New York now you have to be Democrat, so it doesn't even really matter
Yeah.
your policy stances. So that's like Rick Caruso. Rick Caruso has been a Republican his whole life, and he
Right.
just changed to Democrat so he could run for mayor of LA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess, people go back and forth. I mean, you look at Reagan, you know,
Yeah,
Ronald Reagan was
Trump.
Democrat, and yeah.
Trump was Democrat.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm looking at also at New York, and actually, crime, they said, it surged obviously in the 80s and 90s, and there was stories about, the theater district was horrible,
Yeah,
Broadway and all that. I mean, it was really sketchy.
Times Square.
Times Square, oh my gosh, you didn't even walk around at night in Times Square. It was really scary. And so it was great while you were growing up, nice and safe, somewhat safe anyway, except for that, time I got picked up by the naked cowboy and spanked.
That wasn't threatening.
No, that wasn't threatening. So anyway, yeah. So, but then I guess they had a surge in crime in 21 and through 23, which kind of makes sense because it was after COVID
Yeah.
and all that and the BLM stuff. And
That was when they took all the plainclothes officers too
yes,
off the street,
which was so
It was a
dumb.
weird time.
It was a
Yeah.
very weird time. So Mayor Adams, I guess, like last year or in 20, I think it was 2022, introduced like a bunch more police officers. It was like 2,300 new recruits, I think, in 2020. Oh, it was in 2023, 2,300 new recruits. And then approximately 600 this year are expected to graduate. So they are saying that that's attributed to crime going down this last year, which I could see. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah,
Also, I've seen a bunch of stuff that everybody's like, crime's down, crime's down, crime's down. And I'm like, yeah, but if you go into CVS, everything's locked up.
right,
And they're also making like, so obviously people aren't going to steal as much, right? Like,
right.
they can't.
Yeah,
And then also they're making lots of things, like they're lessening crime, I guess, like through statutes. Like, I don't know. I don't have an example off the top of my head, but like they're making things not crimes that used to be crimes.
yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, and then they are letting people out more too, like kind of like a revolving door
Yeah.
where they go in and out. So they're not arresting a lot of people as
They're
much
not
as
charging people
they're not
either
charging
that they
people
arrest,
as much
so.
as they were, or they do arrest them and then they're in and out and they don't officially get charged. And they did. Oh gosh, what was I going to say? Oh, the migrants. So they've spent $1.445 billion to help migrants just in New York.
Wow.
Billion, yeah. And Chicago, I know, spent $1 billion, like on
Really?
migrants, yeah, to like house and feed and shelter, and services. All the
What
stuff
I
that goes to it.
what I'd love to see is how much they're spending on their current homeless population.
Well, exactly, because you and
'Cause-
I have spent a lot of time in New York, and it breaks my heart when you walk out and they
Sure.
truly have well, so does LA and Santa Monica. I was just there and in San Diego,
Yeah.
and there's more homeless people now than ever before, as I'm sure there
Yeah.
is in New York. But
All the major cities right now have big homeless problems, but that's also because of the prices that are so high right now. But I I mean, you're always going to have a homeless issue in New York and LA and the big cities because not everybody's able to be helped because some people are mentally ill and won't take resources, you know?
yeah,
But I mean, if you're going to spend $1 billion on migrants shelter, why spend $1 billion on homeless shelter?
well,
You know?
100%. That's why even like this woman that was being interviewed a couple weeks back in Chicago, and she said, "Yeah, they're finally fixing up all those buildings. Thank God. We've been asking them to fix them up for the last several years, but you know what? They're not fixing them up for us. They're fixing them up for migrants
With their money.
with their money, with taxpayer money." And
Yeah.
so she was disgusted. I think a lot of people that may flip a lot of people to vote Republican this upcoming election.
Especially like the local elections and the
Yes.
House races, even if it's not the big ticket.
Yes, I agree. But New York has improved. I guess they've improved their what do you want to say? Their the crime rate in the subway system.
That's good.
So yeah, so they focus part of their efforts with these new hired recruits and then some of the money on improving the safety of the transit system.
I was on the subway several times a couple weeks ago when I was in New York,
Hmm.
and I didn't have any issues. It seemed pretty safe. The DC Metro definitely feels safer, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. But then you got Union Station that and Washington D.C. That's
Union Station's sketchy as
it's
hell.
so sketchy, but it
I
really wasn't a couple years ago. It was really nice a
know.
couple years ago, which is really sad.
Well, it was fine when I was there when I was interning
Yeah,
too, because it's right by the hill. So we would
right.
go and get lunch there and stuff at the restaurants. But yeah, no, when I was there with Joelle when we were going up to New York 2 Christmases ago
Hmm.
to see some people, that yeah, it was sketchy.
No, I know because I know there were several stories about how they were shutting down different restaurants and stuff in Union Station in DC, and like the Starbucks was pulling out and McDonald's was pulling out or whatever. And
If McDonald's is pulling out, that's when you have the issue.
right,
Starbucks I get because it's filled with pretentious white people. Like
right.
you go to McDonald's and like some of the McDonald's you're in, you're like, oh my gosh, where am I? So
Yeah.
if McDonald's doesn't want to stay, then that's when you know.
Yeah. Well, look at Chicago too. You look at, gosh, Michigan Avenue, you know, the Magnificent Mile and shopping and the fact that Water Tower Place shut down and is empty
Yeah, it's crazy.
is really crazy. And that's only a couple blocks from, you know, Grandma and Grandpa's condo that we've been trying to sell for a year and a half, 2 years, 2 years, I guess.
Right.
It's been on the market. But the real estate downtown has really plummeted because of the crime and because people are just exiting retailers and businesses, as well as some residents have exited downtown, fled. So,
It's crazy.
yeah. With that, I don't know. You want to talk a little bit about Trump?
About the other
Yeah, the
assassination?
assassination attempt, since we're talking about crime, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we can roll into the subject of the fact that the former president has been targeted now 3 times. First, obviously, mid-July at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally that we talked about a couple weeks back, a couple months back, I should say. And then the second attempt was a gunman who was apprehended at the West Palm Beach, Florida, Trump International Golf Course while Donald Trump was golfing. And then now, U.S. intelligence warns that Iran has basically a contract out on Trump. So,
They do.
what's that?
Said of course they do.
Yeah. Well, and you go, okay, well, if Iran wants Trump out, I don't see a contract on Kamala Harris
No, because they don't care.
because
They don't care if Kamala Harris wins
they're
because it's going to be 4
salivating.
years of the same shit that they've been allowed to do with
Right.
Biden.
Right. They know that Trump will shut their shit down.
They know that
Yeah.
Trump will send them a picture of their house.
Yes. I love that story.
That's one of the funniest stories ever because the translator didn't even want to translate what Trump said to the Taliban leader, which I find hilarious.
Yeah.
Trump was like, tell him I'll kill him.
Tell him I know where he lives and I know where his family lives. And yeah, here's a picture of his home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I look back to at the Obama time when Obama administration basically had like pallets of cash on a helicopter and they dropped it down into like to Iran. I don't know how, like,
Was it Iran? Was that where they
Oh,
sent that
yeah.
money?
Yeah.
That is, I knew it was somewhere in the Middle East, but
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know it was Iran. That is insane.
Yes.
Those people over there hate us.
Well,
Hate us. There's a quote from from John Kennedy, from the senator, the Louisiana senator.
love
who's
him.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
But he's on some news show. I don't know if it's Fox or whatever, but he goes, why are we giving money to countries that hate us? They should be able to hate us for free. And I think that is a good point.
That's a totally valid point. Yes, I love
Right.
him. I love him. He's very common sense, no
Oh,
bullshit. Yeah,
oh my God, he's
love him.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Even
Um,
the Democrats on social media are like, this man is a character.
he
And I'm
is.
like, no, it's-
He is definitely. Another good line was I know you probably saw that what was it, the Al Smith dinner that's coming up in October in New York?
oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's like for those of you who don't know, it's like a charity dinner that's a tradition for the presidential candidates to attend, and they kind of roast each other. And it's just
Yeah, I was
all
gonna
in
say it's very
fun.
roasty.
It's a bipartisan thing, and every candidate since I think it started in 1945.
Every candidate since the 80s has gone. I think
Since
it was
84.
83. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Trump agreed to go, and Kamala Harris refuses to go, which I'm
Of
like,
course Trump agreed to go. That's his bread and butter.
Trump goes everywhere. Trump goes everywhere.
Roasting
Oh,
people.
yeah. What I was going to get to was the line that he used against Hillary Clinton back in 2016,
Yeah.
or was it 2020?
No, it was 2016.
2016. Sorry.
I think it was when they were running against
I
each
think
other.
so.
Yeah.
I think because they flashed on her, so I'm assuming that they're running against each other. But anyway, I think she attends anyway.
She also looked young and full of life.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Which
So
was not the case after she lost.
you're right. You're right. She looked really beat up and haggard after she lost. So,
I know.
in defeat and deflated.
Yeah.
Didn't she look
Yeah.
deflated? So,
Yes.
so it must have been 2016. But the quote on him was like he was, roasting her, and he said, and we've been very respectful to each other, and I bumped into her lightly in the hallway, and she turned around to me, and she pleasantly said, "Pardon me." And then he just stops after "pardon me,"
Yeah.
and he just pauses. And she was a good sport about it. She laughed and laughed, and I'm sure
Yeah.
afterwards she's going, "You son of a bitch," but
Sure. Yeah. She's probably going to Bill. He's such an asshole.
I know,
But-
I know, but that was a great zinger. I like that.
Yeah. That was a good one. And yeah, no, he's great. I mean, he did one of those roasts from the show. You know where they have hold the roasts of people? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
There's a show where they like hold roasts for people. So it's like the roast of Caitlyn Jenner, and then they like have all these like people come on. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
But Trump was talking in that, and I can't even remember who he was talking about, but he basically said like, what's the difference between me and what was it? Now I gotta look it up.
Well, while you're looking that up,
Yeah.
so the Secret Service is still being blasted, for its handling or mishandling of his security. But I guess they agreed, or Biden must have agreed to bump up his security detail.
Well, I'm sure.
So I mean, yeah, but
Oh, somebody compared Trump's hair to a wet raccoon. And he said, "What's the difference between me and a wet raccoon?" He said, "A wet raccoon doesn't have $7 billion fucking dollars in the bank."
oh my gosh, I know it's so funny.
He doesn't write any of this shit, but
No.
it's still hilarious because he's got the delivery and he's got the riz
Yeah.
to say it correctly.
No, what I love that because I just think that, well, that's one of the reasons why I do love him. And it's funny because it's probably the same reason somebody hates him.
Oh, it is.
It
totally. But that's, he's one of those people, like you said, like us, where people don't really feel very wishy-washy about him.
Right? Yeah.
Very strong like or strong dislike.
Yeah. No in between. No in between.
Yeah.
So rhetoric has been blamed in part on the assassination attempts. And of course, Trump's saying it's, the Democrats that are fueling it, and the Democrats are turning it around back on him and saying he's the one that's fueling it. I think it's a little bit of both. Trump has been, they say Trump's a threat to democracy. I'm so sick of hearing that, which is so ridiculous. And then he's been compared to Hitler, which is even more insane.
We're cheapening the comparison to Hitler by comparing all these people to Hitler.
Absolutely. And I actually just heard something on that the other day, and they said the same thing, that it's losing its meaning because that's such an extreme comparison, and it's being used
Right.
so often now, that it's losing its impact. But on MSNBC's Morning Joe, U.S. Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo said that voters should extinguish the former president. And then I can't remember who was interviewing her, but she said, "Oh, you mean not vote for him, not vote for him." So she was trying
Yeah,
to soften
extinguish is
it.
crazy.
Yeah,
Also, that's not a commonly used like vocabulary word. Like that's not like a casual slip up. That's a really
right.
weird word to use.
Well, and what do you want to bet we hear extinguish like a million times, like in the
Yes, their
next
new
2 weeks?
buzzword.
Yeah. That the Democrats will like filter that word through the whole system, and you'll start hearing it on all the different news stations and from different candidates for different things. And um, also Hillary
You know
Clinton.
when I
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, well, kind of what I said on the radio about the assassination attempt when they were asking me about that was I said the Democrats, what I would argue if I were on the Republican side is I would say, the Democrats are the ones that created the standard that words can lead to action. They're the ones that say that hate speech leads to violence.
Hmm.
So if you're going to make that claim, then clearly rhetoric led to Donald Trump's
Right.
assassination. And I'm very pro free speech, and I personally think that that rhetoric doesn't necessarily lead to actions, that you can't blame. It's more of a correlation than a causation, but
Hmm.
they claim causation, so go with their standard if they're going to set it like that.
Yeah. Well, then they should turn around and the magnifying glass on themselves, because
But they won't.
no. But then also, I didn't know if you saw, but Joe Biden was on my favorite show, Ha Ha. I hate The View, but he was on The View
hate
as a
The View.
guest.
Who likes The View?
I don't know who
I
watches
haven't met a
that
single
show.
person
Who
likes
watches
The
that
View.
show? I know. For one thing, Whoopi Goldberg is a beast. I'm sorry,
No.
I don't like her. I heard years ago that she got her name Whoopi from flatulence. So I'm like, ew. It's gross. She grosses me out on many levels.
Joy Behar either.
Oh no, she's so obnoxious. So Whoopi Goldberg called Trump a bug to Biden, and was like going, yeah, and he's buzzing around, and then Joe Biden pretended to squash the bug, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I thought that was actually okay, because
I mean, Joe Biden has like grandpa energy.
oh,
So like
100%.
he's not like a dislikable person. And that's what I've been telling people too for the past couple of years. I'm like, I don't hate Joe Biden. I just think he's a bad leader.
Right. Well, he's an incompetent person, but he's been that way. He was that way as a senator,
Right.
and he's
I mean,
been a
he's not
liar his
showing
whole
us
life.
he's not showing us anything new.
No, for sure. And then I don't know if you saw the Oprah Winfrey interview with
No,
Kamala
I didn't
Harris.
watch that.
You didn't watch that? Okay.
No, because I don't care. I don't care what he says to Oprah Winfrey.
I know, but I had to watch it because she hasn't done any interviews, and this wasn't really an interview. If it was more, it was just a setup. I don't know.
Again, go back to the fact that you're a woman running for president. You have to remember that. You
Yeah.
can't just go chat with the ladies.
Well, that's
an
kind of,
afternoon.
yeah, that's kind of what she's doing, obviously. And so Oprah gave her this. This was kind of funny because Oprah's a very smart woman. She's
Oprah would be a better candidate than Kamala Harris.
absolutely. And actually, she talked with Trump way back when about, wouldn't we be a good team together running, kind of thing. This was
I'd vote for that ticket.
oh, I would too. She's a brilliant lady. I don't particularly like some of her personality traits, but I have to say she's a very brilliant businesswoman and dynamic personality. She's a great communicator, and that's her biggest talent, is she's a great communicator. So the thing that I thought was funny about the interview was it starts off with this big monster hug and joy, like, oh my gosh, hi, and they hug each other. So she's hugging Kamala Harris, and big bear hug, and they're smiling from ear to ear and everything. And then she gets into these questions, and some of them were like from the audience, and some of them were like kind of videotaped in, zoomed in or whatever. And they're asking her, What are you going to do to lower prices for the average person in the economy in, under your presidency, under your administration?
Talk about how she's a middle class kid again.
Yes. Yes. And if you look at somebody that was in the audience that was videotaping and that posted it later, they showed the monitor feeding her all of that. So she's just basically like, regurgitating that.
Personally, that would mess me up more. I think I'd forget more of the story if it was being fed to me like that.
Well, I think that's what actually happened, because she kind of like blurted it out about the middle class thing and how her mom raised her and how everybody loved their lawns or whatever she said, and then then she kind of just like started doing the word salad thing where she circled, like she lost her train of thought and kind of said the same thing a couple times, and then Oprah had to more than once bring her back around and say, oh, are you saying that you would reinstitute this, or you would put this back in place, and da 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 da. And she was like,
Oprah's probably going, oh my God.
well, that's what I was going to get to, is that Oprah's face when Kamala Harris is speaking and trying to explain and trying to answer,
that is so funny,
was priceless. She was priceless, because she's looking at her like with her hand up to her face, and she's concentrating on it, and it's written all over Oprah. Oprah's going, you are not a smart person. And
Oprah's probably thinking, holy shit, this is the easiest setting you could possibly be in to give an interview like this.
Exactly.
You're not sitting down with Anderson Cooper and doing a hard-hitting hour-long interview.
Yeah. No, this was supposed to be like a friendly little, cute banter thing. And then so her face was priceless, but then at the very end of the interview, it's like all the joy was out of Oprah. and she like goes, oh, thanks for coming on. And she reached over and lightly shook her hand. And it was like from one extreme to the other by the end of the interview.
Isn't Oprah like friends with the Obamas?
Oh yeah, definitely.
She called up one of them after that and goes, oh, we're so lucky we only had 3 months for this.
Oh, you know it.
So lucky.
You know it.
That she's not on campaign for a year.
Right. So, but yeah, you should actually like pull that up and watch some of that, because it's really funny. Even if you just do the Cliff Note version and just kind of tap into a few parts of that. Other than that, we can switch gears real quick and just talk a little bit about sports.
Okay.
So did you watch the Cowboy game last night?
No, I didn't watch the Cowboy game. I know we won though. Thank God.
We won. But, the way that CD Lamb was smiling and, high-fiving somebody or hitting whatever hands or whatever he was doing.
The score was too close for me in terms.
Well, the
Giants, really?
They didn't even play well. Like they didn't.
No.
The Cowboys did not play well. And then, get this. So with Dak's new contract, I looked up how much he makes per game. $3.5 million per game.
Jesus.
Oh.
3.5 million?
3.5 per game. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm sorry if I'm making over $3 million in one 3-hour period, I'm going to bust my ass to show everybody I'm worth it.
He hasn't even won a Super Bowl.
No. Isn't that crazy?
He hasn't even gotten us that far in the playoffs to even consider a Super Bowl.
I know.
And I like Dak.
No, I do
too.
I do
like
too.
him as a person, but that's insane.
Yeah.
I didn't do the math breakdown like that when I saw the contract.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. I was shocked.
Yeah, they better win.
No, I know. That's why I was looking at him going, well, you need to play better than that. Because I'm looking at how much money he's making. Good God.
Liam, too, just signed that other contract that's he's the second highest, I think, what did we say? Second highest paid non-QB.
Yeah. Anyway, so it wasn't pretty. It wasn't a pretty win. It was just like, okay, at least we won, and that was our third game. We've lost 2. Thank God we didn't lose the third game.
Almost didn't get a touchdown last week, and I was like...
Yeah, well, that was like how New York was last night. It was just like field goal after field goal, and it was not pretty on either side. Yeah, it was actually a really boring game too, I have to say. Gina and I were kind of bored. But the Kansas City Chiefs are doing really well. And I know that Buffalo's doing well. Yay. So I know
Okay.
you like Josh Allen.
I do like Josh Allen.
Yeah. He's a cutie.
I like Joe Burrow and I like Josh Allen.
Yeah. So both of those are early predictors. I know it's too early to really predict, but early predictors for Super Bowl odds are up on those two. And then Syracuse, their last game is coming up. Well, it's home game until November.
Yeah.
Is that tonight or
I
tomorrow?
think it's
I think it's
tomorrow night.
tomorrow. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
tomorrow.
tomorrow night.
Yeah, and they
I'm not because I have midterms next week,
right. But they lost
yeah.
last minute last week to Stanford, which was
Yeah, that was sad. I know.
yeah.
I went to the game last week. I didn't stay to the bitter end, but I stayed about three quarters, and then yeah, we saw that we thought that they won, and then
I
saw
thought that they won because I was
yeah,
looking online and I saw and it said end of regulation and it showed them up
yeah,
by one and I was like, oh, they won. That's awesome. And then you were like, no, they actually lost by two because they
yeah,
must have done a
sucked.
field goal at the last second. So
Yeah, and my one of my professors went to Notre Dame Law School, but then I think she went to Stanford undergrad or something like that, or did like a fellowship at Stanford. So she was like saying how the Stanford game was this weekend, and I was like, I'm very anti-Stanford. I had on like my USC shirt, but then she also went to Notre Dame. I was like, I bet you're anti-USC, and she was like, Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
yes. Right.
Stanford and Notre Dame. I'm like, yeah, you definitely don't like USC.
Yeah, that's a given. And I don't know how USC is doing. I didn't check to see. I don't know. So we'll have to like
Won or lost last week.
plug into college
We lost to
football.
Michigan last week.
Oh, that's right. Actually, it was supposed to be a good game. I didn't catch it, but I think that USC only lost by like 1 or 2 points.
No, it was a very close game.
Very
and we
close.
like definitely it didn't start off close. It started off and I was like, no, I have hope. We're usually a third, fourth quarter team.
For sure.
And then yeah, no, it was very close. I actually I had to pay my friend that went to Michigan $10 because I bet on the game. But
well, that was
motor $10 and I go, well, this should buy you a beer in Ann Arbor. Won't in DC, but it will in Ann Arbor.
Anyway, it was a very close game. So USC is doing well to come in that close with Michigan. I think is a big deal.
Yeah, that was a good Big Ten debut for sure.
Yeah.
It was not the best. It would have been nice to win, but it was not. It's not like we got wiped out like some people were predicting. So
well, Syracuse kind of did the same thing that well, not the exact same thing, but that the Cowboys did last year, which was start off really strong and then taper off like later in the season. Like everybody had really high hopes for Syracuse last year. Cowboys are just doing terrible at the beginning of this season, so I hope they pick things up and gets better.
I did see a tweet that was like, everyone needs to stop saying Cowboys fans are bandwagon fans now because no one would choose this.
No,
and I'm like,
real. True. So the only other thing I have on my list, a friend of mine, her neighbor just committed suicide. I know this is a really, really deep conversation, dark topic, but I wanted to just briefly talk about that because I know you and I have talked about that before. When somebody commits suicide, it's devastating to the people who are around them, whether that's their friends, loved ones, whatever, those who care about them. And it's actually kind of a selfish choice in a lot of ways. And that sounds a little harsh, but I know that, my little brother committed suicide as well. Your Uncle Jim died when you were 6, I want to say. His was a little bit different because he was like on drugs, and the coroner said he probably didn't even realize that he had a gun in his hand and all of that. So, but for 3 full years, I mean, my mom and I, especially because we were there when he died and took his life, and we weren't able to function like normal for 3 years, which was really hard. I know that this friend of ours is going through a tough time, and she has a lot of questions. What comes up with this is a lot of people wondering, could I have, should I have done this? Could I have done this? Did I not see the signs? Did I not hear the person? So, just I looked up some warning signs about, some of them are just like very basic, like somebody talking about wanting to die, or talking about feeling trapped, hopeless, having no reason to live, talking about being a burden to others, increasing use of alcohol or drugs, acting anxious or agitated, sleeping too much or too little, withdrawing and isolating themselves in extreme mood swings. So, I mean, some of that's pretty basic, but a lot of times when you only see the person, let's say you're not seeing them every single day, that you don't pick up on a lot of that. So it's really a sad thing. I know too, they're building nets when I was just in San Diego a couple weeks back, they were building a net like they did in San Francisco for the bridge, because people jump off the bridge a lot of times to end their lives. And I guess my thought on that is, they're spending millions of dollars on these nets. And I'm like, shouldn't they be spending those millions of dollars on suicide prevention and awareness and
mental health resources?
Mental health. Yeah. Because that's not fixing the problem. And if somebody's going to kill themselves, they're going to find a way.
Well, that's what I was just about to say, is like, I wonder if there's statistics on like how much that prevents people jumping from bridges. I don't know if there is or not. There might, and it might be proven to work, but my thinking is that if somebody's already made that choice, then that's not going to be the only way.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, they're going to find a way if they're unhappy and they're planning on doing that. And that's such a drastic thing. But I can also tell you, I read a really good quote, because this kind of reminded me somewhat of Jim, even though I think his was more of unaware that what he was doing at the time. It says some people don't want to die, but they don't know how to live.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really valid, because I think a lot of people have trouble with daily life. I know that, you hear that they let their mail pile up and all of a sudden their voicemail is completely full. And there's a lot of stress in daily life.
There is, and especially the technology now, I think it's definitely increased, because it's not just mail, it's email and phone calls and I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more aspects to it, and through social media, you see other people's problems, and that can be a really good thing, or it can be a not so good thing,
Yeah. Well, I know what I've told you guys, you and Justin, and then also friends when they ask, and recently even a relative, that somebody always has it worse off. Like, I don't, your problems, while you think that they're really unique, everybody has problems. A lot of people have health problems that you're not aware of, or that you think your health is bad, and then you see somebody that's got it way worse. They have money problems, they have health problems, they have problems with their dysfunctional families. I mean, every family's dysfunctional as far as I'm concerned.
For sure.
Yeah.
The things I learn about, like, I think our family's crazy, but things I learn about other people's families, I'm like, oh, we don't have that problem,
Well, that's kind of what I mean. I don't know if you remember this book, but I read you this book when you were little, and it was Justin's book initially, and then I started reading it to you. So I read it to both of you, but it was Jenna and the Troublemaker.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and so the Jenna complains about her problems. And her problems take the form of these little monsters hiding in her room and behind things and underneath things. And she calls for the troublemaker, who's kind of like this little character who comes at night. And the troublemaker comes to her house, and he collects all of her troubles and puts them in a bag. And then he does that throughout the town that night. And he throws them all into an open field. And then he says, okay, now pick a different bag of troubles. And then she does. And she's like, oh, can I have mine back?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of true.
Well, I have a lot of empathy for people that go through that because I don't particularly understand it, but um I know like most of the time it's because they think there's no hope
Right.
of like, them getting out of that situation or things getting better or whatever it is. I think that it's a hopeless feeling,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And you've always told me and been and you and dad really that there's a we're gonna get you out of a problem.
Hmm.
There's a way out. Figure it out, and there's hope. There's hope.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like even your friend that's going through that. Well, what could I do? What could I have done? I mean, that's a lot big burden to put on one person when somebody feels like there's no hope. It's hard to change somebody's mind. So
Yeah.
just I think it's just a good thing to remind people in general that there's a way out of situations and that there's hope, you
Yeah,
know.
I agree, and I think that if somebody comes to you and is talking to you or shows any of these signs, I think the best thing is to be direct with them and to listen to them and to talk to them and not to dismiss it, and then also not to be judgmental. And I think that's one of my biggest qualities is I don't think I'm a judgmental person. I think that I really try to listen to the person and evaluate what's going on and then give them some like hope. So, and some direction. So,
Having opinions is different from being judgmental.
what's that?
Having opinions is different
Uh,
from being judgmental.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So anyway, if you do feel that way, if you feel like there is not hope, there is hope. And you need to seek out help for sure. And then if you know somebody, there's a suicide and crisis hotline. And I didn't know this before, but you can just simply text or dial 988.
That's a newer thing.
Yeah, instead of like 911, you do 988, and that is your suicide hotline, prevention hotline.
So back when I was like in high school area, the number they were promoting was like a 1-800 number, but I
Hmm.
think it changed while I was in college to
Yeah,
that, which I think is good.
which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
That's a great advancement, I think. So, but that's all I got for today. Do you have anything else, baby?
Nope. I think that's it. It's ending on a heavy topic. We
I
promise we'll talk about
know, I
something.
know.
We'll have to
Everybody,
talk about something light beginning of next episode.
yeah, for sure. Well, life isn't always, I don't know, fun and rosy. So it is what
Right.
it is. Anyway, thanks for joining us today. And you can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and a number of other platforms. We appreciate you joining us today. And this has been the Baker Take.